Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim Paola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
It is always so good to have you with us on a Saturday. We take you 9 until 11. If you let us, that's 2 hours of infotainment. And thank you for being with us. If you're a long timer, man, it's like a decade now. If you've just been recently joining us, thank you for finding your way. There's plenty of entry points here. You can be a part of the show toll free at 877-927-6969. You got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Pick up your phone. Dial that up, 877-927-6969. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, he will line you up and we will get you on the air. We will not keep you waiting either. The people surrounding me on Facebook, because I'm solo in a room right now, but if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, those people, they love talking to you. So pick up your phone and dial with your questions, comments, concerns. Of course, you could be listening on 92.1, 101.7. Thank you. If you're on your iHeartRadio app, that's a free download. It keeps us worldwide. Thank you very much. On Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate, you'll find us. YouTube as well. Thank you for being with us on a Saturday. Nice to see you. I'm your boy, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Here's your starting lineup on a Saturday morning. That's nice, too, on this Saturday, like last week. And I feel like maybe even the week before. We're on a little run here. Say good morning to Scott Spainhour. One of the big reasons I say Jim DePolo runs a top-producing Keller Williams team. One of the reasons, well, we can lean on one of our top agents, Scott Spainhour, with us on a Saturday. How are you, my friend?
I am excellent, Johnny C. How are you this morning?
You know what? I'm pretty all right. I'm feeling good, and I kind of had this. There's Gator football on today. Did you watch your Vols the other night?
Yeah, Bowling Green didn't fare so well.
But they won and almost covered for those that care. Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic. College football is back. And you know what's amazing? Is watching like 100,000 screaming fans in Neyland Stadium. That is terrifying.
Packed.
That is terrifying. As we keep going around the horn here, there's the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. And by the way, it's terrifying, but I can't wait to get in a sea of 100,000 people. Mike Rauch, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to avoid the 100,000 crowds currently.
Oh, me too. But man, yeah. I miss it. Oh, do I miss it? And watching it on TV is like, wow, that looks so much fun. It really does. Speaking of fun, how's Costa Rica?
Costa Rica was great, man. Had a great time as always.
I bet.
So the probably the crowdest part was the airplane, which they still seem pretty safe. So.
Sure.
Did you get to do some fishing while you were there?
No, we don't have enough time to do. Well, I guess we probably have enough time, but the fishing charters in the past were not so successful out of where we go. So I don't know. Did you
get a chance to choke anyone out while you were there?
I tried.
All right.
Those kids are tough over there. I was, like
for those that are wondering,
good positions. Like, they don't like to tap.
Why would Mike be choking anybody out? Well, he's into the mixed martial arts.
Jiu-jitsu.
The jiu-jitsu. That's right.
Brazilian style.
So you're rolling around trying to get people to tap out or avoid being tapped out yourself.
Yeah, or you're just kind of, just rolling, just enjoying the exercise of it, I suppose.
Right, and every now and then you just let a steamroller.
Yeah, something like that. Trying to work your position, and then if you get a chance, maybe sink a couple collars or a couple hands into the collar.
There you go. Like beautiful. Yeah. Well, this is a great way to get a Saturday going, and there's only one better way to keep it going, and that is to get to my guy Jimmy D over here. That's right. Jim DePolo is with us just about every Saturday that you can imagine. He is Mr. Dependable, and it's always nice to say good morning to Jimmy D. He runs a top producing Keller Williams team. It's Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach being represented well. Jimmy D, how you be? 2 weeks in a row with the out the gates.
Last week, I was going to say, last week you actually caught me on air. I don't know if I cursed. Sorry, that would be the first time in 10 years I've been doing this. But
if you cursed, you would have heard me yell dump, Jimmy going, oh, I got it. Scott roll his eyes. No, that did not happen.
I saw that it actually picked up on the video where my face looked crazy, and I was like, oh my God, I just lost all the show prep. Well, last night I was like, I'm not going to make that happen this time. I worked till like 10 o'clock last night, put a whole script together, like of all the subjects we're going to talk about, which is awesome. We have a lot to talk about. Open up my stuff. As you've been seeing, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, I'm not really looking at the screen because I'm trying to find my notes in my computer. Cannot find them right now. So I'm going to have to do this off of memory, including statistics, which is always fun. So we'll see how good my memory is on this show. So let's talk about some of the things. We got so much great stuff. Look, how long have we been talking about, every couple months we start talking about what it's like being a realtor in this market.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about it from a realtor perspective. What I'm trying to explain to people is what it's like really in the trenches in a very, very tough market and how to get yourself through it with the most positive results that you can get. And we were talking about how a lot of realtors, the average realtor in Florida, this is something I learned last night. There's 3 million realtors in the United States, 3 million real estate agents in the United States. I'm sorry, 3 million real estate agents, but only 1.5 million of them are realtors. Most people don't even get that real estate agents don't necessarily have to be realtors. There's a difference, okay? A big difference, and it affects your life. People think, what's the big deal, right? Realtor, real estate agent, what's the difference? Well, realtors, first of all, have to take an oath to uphold certain ethical standards that real estate agents don't promise to do. And because you have to buy into the Realtors Association, I actually call it basically a union. Realtors is like a union to me. They advocate for rights for realtors and for the public. And they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes with the federal government about the real estate market for commercial and residential. So, but only half of us are realtors, okay? And then you find out that the average realtor in the United States, before taking splits with their brokerages and everything, they're going to be doing about 10 deals a year, and they're going to make less than $40,000 a year gross, right? And now you're trying to buy properties, whether you're in the luxury market or not the luxury market, and you're out there, and it's probably going to be the biggest purchase or biggest sale of your life. And you don't really know what you're hiring. You really don't know. And let me tell you, when you're not a realtor, these are the things that affect you. You don't have access to the MLS. Can you imagine being a realtor and not having access? I keep saying it, realtor. Imagine selling your home. You didn't ask if your realtors, ask if your realtor or your agent,
Really?
is a real estate agent or not, and whether they're going to put it on the MLS. I know that they probably will put it on the MLS, but they're not going to do it at the level that realtors do with the same access. The other thing is that they can't get access to certain things, like, for example, get into lock boxes. One of the things that we do here at our team is that we make sure that we use a lockbox that's called a Supra. That way, the only way that somebody can get into that Supra box is if they're a licensed realtor. And they have to be licensed with the state of Florida and be part of the Realtors Association in order to get in that lockbox. Now, why does that matter? Regular realtors can't get into that lockbox. So they call up the realtors and say, hey, I don't have access to super boxes. Can you drive over and come over and let me into the house? Now, this is a very, very busy market where it's not uncommon to get 5 offers, 10 offers, 15 offers, 20 offers on a house. And your agent as a buyer is calling up the other agents like, hey, I can't get into the house like all the other realtors can. Can you drive over there and let me into the house? Do you think that's really happening?
No.
On a day-to-day basis?
Nope.
And the buyers have no idea. Then if you're selling your house and you have a real estate agent and they don't have super access, you know what they're putting on your door? A $40 lockbox at Home Depot. How do I know they're $40? I used to buy them a long time ago. Okay. They're a 1, 2, 3 ABCDE code. You don't have to be anybody to have that thing. You could be anybody. So all you do is you put on the MLS or in your listing, if you want the property to be shown, oh yeah, come over to the house and hit code 1579 or type in CABE and anybody can get in. So you have a lazy agent doesn't want to go show the property. You're the seller. The agent says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I don't feel like driving all the way to Loxahatchee today. I live in Boca. How about you just go over and look at the house yourself? Because all you got to do is hit in 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can get into the house. And now they have that lockbox forever. You have this stranger that has access to your lockbox with nobody there at any time, because how do you know they're not going to come back and take stuff from your house, which actually happened to me once 8 years ago. Okay. So big difference between a realtor and a real estate agent and professionals and part-time people. And we're going to give you real life examples today of how this team was able to save Rashana and her husband, Leonard, and their 2 beautiful children from a very, very bad situation where they almost lost almost all their life savings on a deposit on a house because they didn't have the right systems in place and they just didn't know any better. But thank God we've got this team between Scott and Mike and a little bit of help from me to fill in for some gaps. We were able to save the day, and Rashana's coming on the show today to talk about it. And it's a great feel-good success story. Can't wait to get her on the air in a little bit.
Yeah, she's on hold, so just hang in there, Rashana. We'll get to you in a second. 877-927-6969.
Thank you. I wanted to go over. I wanted to really lead into the shout outs first, but because I don't have my show press, the shout outs are too complicated. We had a lot of positive things happen this week for a lot of our customers. But I wanted to give you one quick example of the difference between hiring a top agent and hiring agents that really just don't put energy into your house when you're selling a house. I want to say congratulations to Lee. He gave us the opportunity to sell his townhome over in Palm Springs. Now, I took the listing on July 30th. We put the house on the market July 30th. Now, at that time, there were 3 other 2-2s. Our house was a 2-2. There were 3 other 2-2s on the market. 2 of them were being listed by the same agent, and they were on the market. They were on the market for about 50 days. Okay. And then there was another property that was on the market for about 110 days. Okay. So in this neighborhood, the 3-2s were going super fast, but the 2-2s were very rare to sell. They weren't on the market that much. And when they did, it looked like they weren't selling as fast as the 3-2s in this neighborhood. So I had to set the price to figure out how I'm going to get top dollar for this guy. So the top sale for a 2-2, I'm not going to give real numbers, but it's going to be real ratios, okay? Because I don't like giving out real information because of my customers. I don't want their identities revealed directly.
Just add a 1 in front of everything.
Yeah,
for 400,000, 1.4 million, right?
Yeah, or a 0 at the end. We could just do the 0 at the end.
Yeah, I guess
right?
put a 0 at the end. There you go.
So, the highest sale in this neighborhood, let's say for 2-2s in the last year, was $300,000. Let's say, okay. Now the other 3 units were on the market for, let's say, 290 to 300, the 3 units. Okay, so they're all there. Okay, now I'm putting my house on the market. I got to compete with those other 3 units because most people aren't going to buy a 2-2 if they need a 3-2. So I know I'm only competing with the 2-2 units. So I'm figuring, how am I going to compete with them? How am I going to get my house sold in my 21-day plan? And how am I going to make this happen? So we decided to put the house on the market for, let's say the house was on the market for, the highest sale was 300. We put the house on the market for 315. Okay, 5% above the highest sale in the neighborhood. Okay, that's the formula we used on this one. In 7 days, we had multiple offers. We took 5% above the list price. So now the guy's getting $10,000 more than the list price. Okay. And, or 10%, I'm sorry, 10% more than the list price. And everything's hopping along. So last night I went to go do the shout outs and I went back and looked at the comps again. And all 3 houses, what do you think's happened with those 3 houses that were on the market 50 to 80 days while I was on the market 7 days under contract? What do you think happened to those?
Go ahead, Michael.
Price increase.
Well, Mike is right about one of them.
right? They
But
saw you. They
multiple-
saw
but
yours
wait,
sold so quick.
multiple price increases. So I'm going to tell you that all three of them
Crazy.
are still on the market to this day. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the two properties owned being handled by the same agent, those two properties been on the market now 85 days.
Oof.
No buyers. Okay.
And he's increasing the price.
No, they didn't increase the price. The
Oh.
one that increased the price, let me tell you this story about not having the right agent. So when they put their house on the market, let's say that 300 was the baseline. They actually started when they did it, they put it on the market for 250. So they were under the highest sale in the neighborhood at the time. Then they went under contract. I watched all the history on this. Go over the 140 days, because now they're on the market 140 days. They went under contract. The contract fell apart. They put it back on the market, but not for 250. They decided to put it on the market for 265. They waited a while. They got it under contract. The contract fell apart. They had to put it back on the market. They didn't put it back on the market for 265. They put it back on the market for 275. Then they went under contract a little bit later. Deal fell apart. Put the house back on the market at the same price of 275, right? Then they went under contract, fell out of contract again, put it back on the market. Now they're at, in this case, 315.
Wow.
Right? So in 140 days, that's what's happened to that situation there. Okay.
Wow.
Now, I walked into that neighborhood, never did a deal in that neighborhood because our team covers 6 counties. So we don't specialize in one neighborhood. We specialize in selling real estate. Okay. So we have to go in and look at each case individually to figure out what's going on. That's the difference between hiring top agents and hiring agents that don't know what they're doing. And you know what? I'm charging the same price on the commissions that those agents are doing right now. So why don't you hire the top agent and pick up the phone and give us a call when you want to? When you're thinking about selling your house, give us a call and we'll show you what we can do.
Yeah, go to floridatalkrealestate.com. You'll find the hotline. You can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 888-973-7828. See it over my shoulder. You see it in the square if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. 888-973-7828. You'll find it. It's the one-stop real estate shop. Access to the whole team. floridatalkrealestate.com. Michael, go ahead.
I was just thinking like how that conversation goes with that listing agent when the deals keep falling apart. Jim, is he saying like that's just the way the market is, right? You never know what kind of buyer you're going to get. Sometimes it doesn't, like how do you have that conversation over and over again, and convince the sellers, right? That's the way. That's how it goes. That's how it goes sometimes. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, when you're under contract 4 or 5 times in 140 days, okay, and they all fall apart, there's a problem there, a real problem.
And the problem is,
it could be the seller. To be fair, it could be a seller, right? It could be a seller. I'm not just saying it could be the agent, but talk about the damage to the property of the value of the house, in my opinion, by going through that. It really damages the value. Do you think any agent worth their salt that has a qualified buyer for that unit is going to take a look at that history and go, oh, let's give them full asking price of 315. No, they're going to say, you know what? They started out at 250. Let's offer 235 and see what they do. That's what a good agent would do at that point. You're damaging the value of your property when you go through that. And if your agent isn't telling you that, or if the agent is taking property that is overpriced, do you know that under the Code of Ethics for Realtors, you're not allowed to do that? Do you know that a seller can actually file an ethics complaint for you for taking an overpriced property? They could.
I bet Scott knows that. I bet. Yeah. Jim obviously knows that. That's because they're good realtors. They understand the rules, the regulations, the guidelines, the codes of ethics, and just treating people right, doing the right things by people. But sometimes they're not so obvious. But go to people that are really good at what they do. floridatalkrealestate.com. It's kind of a good segue into maybe talking to Rashana. This is a situation where if you're not working with the best of the best or people that can maybe see some of the bumps before you get there, you can find yourself in a really, really bad way. Jim, you'd have to give me the statistics. What do you think percentage-wise over the years people have come to Florida Talk Real Estate to salvage what other quote unquote friends, family, professionals that they were put onto or had. What percentage wise have you guys, the team collectively, had to kick, save, and a beauty save people's hides because the professionals they were working for just failed them? Not because the circumstances failed them. That's one thing, right? Circumstances happen to everybody. I know Jim's not going to sit here every Saturday or any Saturday for that matter and say, all our deals go through, everybody's happy when it ends, everything's kumbaya. Can't do it, right, Jim? We've had situations where you go, there's just nothing we could have done for that one. I'm sure you have somewhere you go, oh, if we'd have done this instead of that, maybe it works out different. But sometimes you just can't do anything. Sometimes it's nobody's fault. It's just the circumstance, right?
Yes, that's true. And to answer how many times, what percentage of the deals we do every year that we salvage or save somebody after they got in a jam with another agent is my first answer is is not enough. And the reason why I'm saying that is that you're in a contract, a listing agreement contract with somebody when you list your house with them, for example, okay, if you're selling. And when you're in that contract, you can't just walk away and quit on them. And usually in the standard contracts that are offered, the agent can actually, or the brokerage, not the agent, because the brokerage always controls the listing. So when you're working with us and you're signing a listing agreement with us, you're not doing it with the Florida Home Pros or Jim DePola, the Jim DePola team. What you're doing is you're signing a listing agreement with Keller Williams, the brokerage, okay? Because they're the boss. They're the ones that are allowed to take the listings. We're only allowed to work the listings, okay? So the problem is a lot of time people call us up and they go, I really am a big jam and I want to let go of my realtor or my agent. And then I start talking to them and I explain to them, you're probably not going to be able to do that,
Contractually.
and I can't help you under guidelines for the state of Florida. I can't help you get out of your contract with another person. I'm not allowed to do that. Okay, I can get in big trouble for that. I can give them a second opinion about what they could do about trying to sell their home if they ask me that. But I can't talk to them about trying to switch agents, try to switch brokerages, explain to them how to get out of a contract. You can't do that. So the people are trapped. So a lot of times what happens is they're stuck with this really bad agent. They hold their nose and they go ahead and get the deal closed. They usually don't get optimum results. They walk away very, very bitter. They probably didn't max out the money that they can make. Good market, bad market. Those results are going to be the same when you have a bad experience. Or they do the other thing. They take the house off the market, and it's called temporarily off market, until the listing expires and it's canceled. I call that holding the property hostage, because sometimes the sellers don't want to sell with the agent because they know they're going to make less money after they sign the contract. So they'll wait the time of the listing agreement in order to close it out.
Anything you want to do to set up Roshana's phone call before we say hi to her?
Yes, absolutely. Scott, do you want to start off with this one, please? Because it was your agent. Just the overview. What I want to say is that what you're going to hear right now is a real life story about how proven systems give you predictable results, and that Shauna was at risk of losing a $20,000 deposit, which basically was her life savings in a way. Young woman coming down here, a nurse from Wisconsin coming down here for a new life and a new job with her young family, and not only lost the home that they needed to move into that would have made them homeless if they didn't get it, but also almost lost all their life savings that they saved to buy that home. And we, thank God, our team was able to correct this situation and get it saved, and she closed this week. So if you could welcome Roshana, and then Scott, if you could start off, that would be great.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, she's definitely dialing in with us today, as Jim kind of set up. Really, really terrifying situation. Not only, look, when you're moving, you're buying a home, it's a big deal. You got to make sure you got people around you that really, really know what they're doing and that you can trust that they are doing right by you, and then know what's coming ahead, like what you need to be prepared for and how to handle certain situations. This is a really terrifying situation that worked out well, as Jim noted. But man, we're lucky to have Rauchana joining us to give us some of the details here. Good morning, welcome. You're on Florida Talk Real Estate. Rauchana, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for taking the time this morning to call us and sharing some of the details of what could have ended up being some of the worst events of your life, I'm sure, minus death. But geez, for Pete, we have a really bad situation that fortunately you end up working with this team and it all works out. So I'm so happy that you're joining us today. Scott, say hi to Rauchana.
Hi, Rauchana. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
You guys getting settled into the new place? Got all the power turned on and getting life in line again?
Everything is up and running. Yeah, everything is up and running. I'm so happy now.
Awesome. So I want to give you a little backstory about how Rauchana came into our fold initially. We met at an open house in February of this year on a listing that I was selling in West Palm Beach. And Rauchana and her husband were what we talk about a lot on the show. They were seller buyers. They were moving and selling a house in Wisconsin and moving from Wisconsin to Southeast Florida. And before their house in Wisconsin was ever on the market, they had came down in February and was just kind of looking around, and they had found one of our properties on Zillow that I was hosting an open house on, and they came in, and it just so happens that house that we were doing the open house on went into contract the Friday before we were doing the open house, but we had been advertising it all week, so we did the open house anyway. And I'm glad I did because Rauchana and Leonard came in, and we had about 15, 20 minutes to chat. And we discussed what they were trying to do and, sell the house in Wisconsin. And Leonard was going to transfer with his job down here and Rauchana as well. And we started communicating after they left town in February to go back to Wisconsin. We started communicating and setting up searches for her and kind of giving her an idea of the inventory in South Florida and started the whole process. And when we first start the process with the buyer, traditionally we try and do a buyer's consultation in person, but when we've got somebody out of state, a lot of that's done over the phone. But, in that consultation, there's a lot of information that's being gathered and a lot of education, so to speak, that's going on with the buyer about the processes of home buying from step A to step Z. And even though Rauchana had been through that in Wisconsin, from one state to the next, the process can be different, regulations can be different. So, was kind of talking her through that process. And one of the things that we definitely talk about in the buyer's consultation is, so how are you going to be paying for the new house? And if you're paying cash, great. Is the cash in the bank, or are we using, loaned money from a family member, blah, blah, blah. Are you using a mortgage? In Rauchana's case, she was, again, a seller buyer. So they had to sell that house in Wisconsin, use some of the proceeds from the sale of that house to use a mortgage down here in South Florida. So Rauchana had spoke with an agent in Wisconsin to list their property up there, and that agent referred them to a loan originator that was out of state, definitely not in Florida, but I think he was in Colorado, I believe it was. And so Rauchana was going to be using that loan originator for the purchase of the home here in South Florida. So after I got that information, I called that loan originator, introduced myself to him, and we started the process of working for Rauchana, me and this other loan originator, not Mike, this other guy from out of state. And so come fast forward a little bit from February, all of this stuff's going on, and we found a property that popped up in Hollywood that was Hollywood, Florida, that was a duplex. And Rauchana made plans to come down here, fly down for the weekend so we could go out and take a look at that property. And this is early June at this point, and we got Rauchana into contract. Without going into exact numbers, around the $400,000 mark on a duplex that they're going to be living in one side, and then actually found out finally, ultimately, instead of doing annual rental, they're going to be doing an Airbnb on the other side. Nice. Which it's close to the Hard Rock Casino area in Hollywood, Young Circle, the beach, and all of that. So I think they're going to do very well with that. So we're super happy. The first house that we saw, we were able to get them into contract at around $400,000, and super excited at that point. Next steps in the process, we move on to our inspection period. Well, the seller of this property, the investors that owned it, they had gone in and completely renovated this place, kind of hands-off investors. They weren't doing the work themselves. They hired a contractor, and the contractor pulled permits, but not permits on everything. And long story short, there was an issue with a concrete driveway that had been poured without a permit. And the seller disclosed that to us. And we were able to negotiate in lieu of that a $10,000 credit for Rauch and Leonard towards their closing cost and prepaid items. And so again, got the seller to agree with that. Inspection period ends. We're still super happy at this point. Everything's going the way we want it to. And fast forward a little further, and now we're in the beginning of July. The appraisal comes in, and the appraisal. Okay, we're saying that the purchase price was $400. Let's say the appraisal came in $30,000 low. The appraisal comes in at $370, and we're like, oh boy. Of course, as the buyer, our first position when an appraisal comes in low is we want to buy the house for what it's worth. So I fill out an addendum, have Leonard and Rauch sign it. Basically simply says buyer and seller agree to reduce the sales price, the purchase price to $370,000, which is the appraised value, $30,000 less than what we were in contract for. And I sent that with a copy of the appraisal, spoke with the listing agent, and the seller signs it. Man, we're super happy at this point. We've gotten into contract on our first try. We got $10,000 in seller concessions towards our closing cost during our inspection period. The appraisal comes in $30,000 low. We negotiate and we get him to come down 30 grand. Boy, we're happy at this point.
Yeah. So, Rauch, so is Scott giving an accurate reflection of what happened up to that point, and what were your feelings at that point?
At that point, I was super, super happy. 10,000 put towards closing costs, and we're getting the house a lot lower. I was super happy at that point.
Yes, and I just want to ask you this other question, Rauch. You know, you didn't know us. It isn't like you hear our radio show all the time and everything, and and that kind of thing. You just happened to stumble upon Scott at an open house. He was just another realtor guy sitting there. So what made you to choose to go ahead and work with Scott at that point? I just wanted to bring that point out.
When you sit down and talk with somebody and they're throwing all these ideas at you, you can tell that someone is well educated and basically know what they're doing. And you just build a trust. When people see me and I go out to their homes and I'm basically telling them how the body works, because I'm a nurse and I'm very confident in what I say, there's that trust that's built, and that's basically what happened. And a trust was built, and I really, really went with him, and based off of that.
That's awesome. And now getting back to where Scott had left off. So now you must be thinking at this point, big reduction in price. I'm getting a $10,000 credit. I'm getting a way better unit, a duplex to buy than I was looking at when I first met Scott up in West Palm. You must have been thinking that, hey, I made the right decision here, working with Scott. You must have been really thinking that at that point, right?
Yes, of course. And
then, let me just ask one other thing, and then I'm gonna turn this over to you, Scott, for the answer. Let me ask you. I'm gonna ask Rauch instead. So one of the things that's in our proven systems with predictable results, Rauch, is that when you come to us and you say that you have financing with another mortgage provider, let's say like the Scud Missile Company, big box banks, right, with wagon wheels on them, mm-hmm. Right? Those kind of places, those are all a little bit warning signs for us right away, because we want to know that our buyers are fully vetted and ready to go, walking around with an approval letter like it's a check, like it's a cashier's check. That's what we want, to know that they're rock solid on their mortgage. So I've always trained Scott when he came to our team that he has to request, even if they have good financing with somebody else, to get a second opinion. Did Scott do that?
A second opinion
for the mortgage.
You trying to get Scott in trouble now, Jim, if he didn't go for the second opinion?
I kind of know the answer. So, Scott,
you mean a second a second opinion on is this mortgage, how it's set up, is it going to work out? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
like to make sure that you were qualified for the mortgage. Oh,
And
maybe
and,
Em
and
can
the
discuss
and,
it.
and the lender that you're using, when we were talking about the home buying process, Rashana, he's asking about when you told me you already had a lender that was a loan originator that was referred to you by the agent up in Wisconsin. He's asking, did I give you any ideas about getting other opinions from anybody else?
Yeah, you did. And I was like, oh, no, this realtor, he recommended this person, and I trust her, so I'm gonna go with this person. And that was kind of end of that situation.
Mhm.
But yes, he did ask to see, are you sure, So, and I ended up going with what I started off with.
Right. So now what happens is, now we're in a situation where, getting back to where we left off, we're in a really great position. Discount on the purchase price, $10,000 credit, waiting to close. Scott's deciding, because he lives in Florida, hey, he takes his annual vacation to go down and go lobster hunting. God bless him. I love that when he does that every year. I know it's a big thing for him. And he's like, hey, Jim, do me a favor. Make sure that you meet Rashana and her husband to go for the final walkthrough. And can you please there be for the closing? So a couple of weeks ago, 3 days before the closing. Well,
Jim,
go
real
ahead, Mike.
quick. Just, you said God bless Scott when he does the vacation. I'm sure that's the sentiment when you
Oh.
were taking these calls
Yep.
while he was on vacation.
Right.
You said God bless Scott, but it was the other version of it,
Well, no, not at all, because everybody needs time off, and that's one of the benefits of having a team, right?
Hey, Jim, I want to back up a little bit in the story before you jump to where you're going right now.
Okay.
So just kind of get back in the timeline of the story. So again, we are now past inspection. We got the $10,000 credit. We got the low appraisal. Got the seller to come down $30,000, and we're super happy. And at this point, our original close date is like the middle of July, like July 14th is when we're supposed to close originally. Well, about 3 days before that original closing date, I get a call from Rashana's loan originator saying that he needs more time, that they're working through this, working through that. And I was able to get them to extend at that point until August 9th. I got them to give us an extra almost 3 weeks for that loan originator, the first loan originator, to get it right. And during the process of this, Rashana's also having some challenges up in Wisconsin. So she's listed her house in Wisconsin, and she's having a trouble with her initial listing agent, which she ultimately ended up firing, which this is the listing agent that referred the loan originator, the first loan originator. She had to hire a second listing agent in Wisconsin who was able to immediately get them into contract. So she had some rough bumps with the listing and the sale up there without going into all of those details. So all of that's going on. So now we've extended to August 9th. And this is where I'm headed down to the Keys on August 6th for the opening of lobster season. And it's all I need Jim to do is meet Rashana and Leonard at the property on August 8th, the day before our scheduled closing date, to do the final walkthrough. That's all I needed Jim to do because I was out of town.
And so I'm driving, when I drive down to Hollywood, I have never seen the property or anything yet. And I'm driving there, and I get there, and I was the first, well, actually the owner of the property, the investor owner, one of the principals. It was an investment property that was being sold. So I saw Rashana and her husband pulling up, and they're pulling up literally with the moving truck and the car on a trailer behind them, plus another car, right? So they had their, they literally were driving in from Wisconsin, bleary-eyed, just to see the house, and going to close in like 2 days, I think, 2 or 3 days later, right? And they're literally there. So met this beautiful family, two beautiful kids. We were playing around with the lizards in the backyard because they haven't seen lizards before. It was a lot of fun. And then and everything's looking good. The investor was very polite. Everything was looking great. We knew that there was an issue with the driveway. It wasn't a big deal. And then we find out that the mortgage broker says, or the loan officer says, we can't do this deal because if the driveway isn't taken care of before you close, we're not closing. So then our team kicked in with Mike.
I think you're jumping ahead there, Jim, a little bit.
Did I go ahead, Mike? Tell me what I'm skipping over.
Yeah. So when the first loan originator started struggling, I actually got him to get on the phone with Mike a couple of times. So Mike started trying to help this other loan originator through the process. Go ahead, Mike. You can kind of
I was going to say, good morning, Rashana. Hi.
Good morning.
I guess I since I'm on, I can ask. Are you okay on time? I don't know what you budgeted for this call this morning.
Oh, I'm perfect. Go right ahead.
Okay, good. Actually, Rashana and I haven't talked since the closing, except via text. So it's nice to hear her voice again. She's she was a trooper and a real I would say a force of nature behind this thing, because there was a point where I think Leonard had thrown in the towel, right? And then Rashana kind of had to, and I'm talking thrown in the towel like 20,000. I'd rather lose the 20,000 than continue doing what we've been doing. And that was really, I think, a low moment on that phone call. But luckily, Rashana was able to turn it around, and she was a force. She was a force to be reckoned with. So, and Jim, the reason you struck ahead is because the issue with the driveway didn't come up until the other issues were solved, right? And I'm doing air quotes because I don't know if they were really solved or not. When I first got brought in, Scott, it was probably it was like you had already, it was either your close date. I think it was the close date when I received the first call. So it must have been the 9th after you guys did the walkthrough. And it was like, hey, Mike, this other LO can't get them done. What do you think? Right? It's kind of like one of those, like, can you do this, Mike? Do you see a way around this?
Because at this point, Mike, we are past our loan commitment period, and they had $20,000 in escrow.
Yeah. I mean, you were at your close date, so by that time, it's all at risk. Like this, and the sellers were driving hard, saying, "You better close or else." Right? We're keeping this thing, and so the first call is like, Mike, do you have any ideas, or can you do this? Right? Can you think you could take this over and make it happen? And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the quickest way to make this happen? And the quickest way to make it happen is to solve the problem with the other lender and let them close. So that's the mode that I'm in initially, which is, okay, what's going on? Because I'm kind of, creative and a problem solver, troubleshooter. And so I'm thinking, let's figure out what problems they're having and see if they can be overcome. And so initially it was, at that point, a debt to income problem, right, Scott? There was some income they were counting on initially. They didn't get it. Or the underwriter didn't like it. Whenever you're moving or relocating, you got to be thinking income in my world. Like, what's going on with the job? What's the pay going to look like? Do they have a contract? Is it guaranteed? Like, all of that stuff is very important. And frankly, I don't envy the position the other LO was in months earlier when it was kind of conceptual, right? Like, hey, I'm going to be transferring. Hey, here's the dates that we're thinking about it. There was some overtime question that would have been complicated right at the beginning of the thing. So by the time I got it and it actually came to me, some of those things had been ironed out, which made it a little bit easier on me. So
can I ask you a question, Mike, on that?
Yeah.
So if Rashana had come to you before they met with the original loan originator, those questions you would have been able to vet. I'm not trying to beat up the other person, but you would have been able to vet those things and go, Rashana, look, because you're transferring from one state to another, these are some of the obstacles we have to overcome. Blah. You'd probably be saying those kind of things, right?
I would be thinking, what is the way that you make this work with the time frame? And is there a way? Or do you simply need to get down here, delay things, wait till things get established? That would have been going through my mind as well. So
let me ask Rashana. Rashana, did you get any of those kind of questions or any of those concerns raised by your original mortgage person? Or they were just like, you're good for the money?
No, nope, not at all. Like all of those things you just suggested, those are things that would have got me thinking of, okay, maybe I should come down here, work a little bit, and get things established, like Mike said. But no, none of that was brought up.
Yeah, and it's I don't know what the answers would have been at the time, Scott. And I know Scott did what he was supposed to do, which is they have made a choice with their loan originator. Scott's like, all right, let me reach out to him. And I think this gentleman was accessible, right? And he had the correct answers at the time. And
Well,
right?
he was accessible, but he was what I would call a yes man.
Yeah.
Like nothing was ever a problem until it was a problem. It was like, they're good for it. They're good for it. They're good for it. And Nancy, who is our office manager and also transaction coordinator, she is a bulldog when it comes to keeping up with the contractual deadlines for our clients.
Oh, tell me about it.
So yeah, so she's asking that original loan originator for the loan commitment letter, saying that, we can move forward in the process. And that original loan originator said, yeah, we're still good for it. We're still good for it. Here's your loan commitment letter. And so we went past our loan commitment date, which at that point put our escrow at risk, when that loan originator was not good. He was not, he didn't have us.
He still had challenges, for sure.
He still had challenges, and he didn't tell us about those challenges. He was just telling us we were good.
I mean, when I first got the call, we were talking about debt to income, right? Like, oh, we didn't get the income we want. So is there any way to do this? And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if you got a debt to income problem, you need to really sharpen up on your D and sharpen up on your I, see where you stand, and is there anything that can move? And you know what I'm saying, Jim, that's what you have to do. You have to know, is my debt solid, or can it be manipulated one way or the other? Is the income solid? Can I scratch any more income out of this situation? And so we started talking along those lines, and I think the other guy said, actually, here it looks like we might have some more income here. We might be able to do something maybe with like a car payment, for example. And so you start kind of restructuring the loan to see if it will work.
Well, here's another thing that happened in this process, Mike, is that when talking about accessibility with the originator, when I called him, because I had to call him in the middle of the mess, right, or towards the end of the supposed closing, he had already, his company, we have to give during the contract what's called a loan commitment approval, final loan commitment to the seller, so they know we've done everything to close on time and that we've done everything. And they gave us a letter saying that was done, but the way the letter was written was ridiculous. I don't remember the exact language. It doesn't matter. But when I called the guy up with Rashana on the phone, I was like, you were going to make this your number. You gave a loan commitment, and now you're taking it away. And now Rashana is losing $20,000. You are making this your life. This case is going to be your life now. And you're going to work this 24/7 because we've got to help Rashana. Do you remember that conversation, Rashana?
Oh, yes, I remember. I remember how I felt because instead of moving into our house, we were in hotels and now Airbnb. Like it was getting pretty spendy just off of his mistake.
I remember one day Rashana was calling me. I think she had the moving truck at a truck stop, and her and her kids were in the truck, like hanging out at the truck stop because they didn't know what the heck was going on. I mean, it broke our hearts.
It really is kind of the worst nightmare scenario. And Jim, you mentioned earlier, like someone comes with a pre-approval from Rocket or whatever. That wasn't the case here. But the point there is not to be cold or it's like, oh, you got to work with our people. The point is, you don't want to end up in this spot where you think you're closing. You have put in time, effort, money. Everybody has worked, negotiated the deal at various points. And here you're at the close date, and you're not getting approved for your loan. It's like, it's the worst nightmare scenario.
And I have a feeling that the reason we found out later that the driveway really wasn't the issue, which is what they were pushing so hard for. And then later we found out it was really a financing view of what they thought.
It's up in, like, I don't know what at the end of result, like what the actual problem was, but I could see problems with DTI. I could see problems with, occupancy. I could see problems with the driveway. Like all of those things could have been the reason.
I'm telling you, my instincts were they were focusing on that driveway because they gave her a loan commitment and she could have lost $20,000, and they were afraid of legal liability of taking away a promise they made. And I think they were like, hey, it isn't our fault we couldn't do it. The driveway's out of our control, but the financing isn't.
Yeah,
checking the background for the financing is in their control. So that, to me, I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I don't know if there's real legal liability there, but they were worried about something when we were rattling the cages.
I tried my best, Jim, just to help troubleshoot it to get to the point where they were like, okay, this thing works, right? And I, from what I understand, it got to that point. but then the driveway issues came up. But who
And
knows? At
then,
the end of the day, we came to. It's funny as we get back to kind of the timeline. I think it was on a Thursday, Scott. You had that conversation and said, "Okay, listen, it's not happening with these other guys, Mike. Now I need you to get into the mode where can you actually take this thing over and do it yourself." And how quick can you get it done, right? Like, can you do it? Number one, how quick can you get it done? I need to answer with certainty, 100% certainty by tomorrow, 5 o'clock, right?
Well,
Like
at least he gave you till tomorrow.
yeah. At least I had a day to figure it out,
Yeah.
and so I did. I did what Jim said. You kind of make that your number one priority, because there's a lot at stake, and there were points, Rashana, in that. If you remember, I mean, we had a phone call that Friday where I was just like, I'm not seeing it, guys. I don't know where we're at. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh yeah, I remember that, and that was just terrifying, knowing where I was at that time and all this effort and money.
Yeah,
That was
we were mentally switching to. I just don't think it can happen. How is Scott going to recover the 20,000? Like, what is the best way to fight for that 20 grand so you're not losing all? We were kind of in that mode. And then, to his credit, Jim, the originator, because he was still wanting to be cooperative and he wanted to get this thing done. I really think he felt like he dropped the ball. He kind of just in conversation, he threw an idea out there, and that idea, at first I was like, I don't know, and then I started, the wheels spinning in my head, and actually his idea is the one that we used to put this thing together in a way that works. So
so he did come through at the end to help. You helped him, and then he ended up helping you. And the other thing was that we were very, very blessed about was that the sellers were willing to work with us for so long. That was very scary for sellers. A lot of sellers would have walked away from that situation.
Hey, Jim, and these are, I give full credit to Scott because these are investors. They don't play around. They were in charge. Their agent, even though I talked with her a few times, I think, ultimately these sellers were savvy. They knew what was going on, but they also understand how do we get this thing done the quickest way possible. And Scott was able to convince them, luckily, hey, we've got a super duper team. Everybody's in position now. We basically bought until the end of the month, right? So 2 weeks essentially. Give us to the end of the month. It's going to happen. Trust us. Trust me. It's going to happen. And they gave us the time. And guess what? We made it happen. We made it happen 2 weeks in 2 weeks. So
it was awesome, and I'm so glad that you guys are in there. And you guys, Rashana, could you kind of give us some takeaways from your experience of going through this and what you learned, and like what you would tell your friends and family about home buying process from this whole experience?
Aha moments.
Yeah, I said it a few times already, but when Scott asked me, hey, we have our own team here, and he told me about Mike the first time all those months ago, I regret it. I regret not just going with somebody that actually lives in Florida, that knows all the turns and everything about it. I should have went with the top instead of going with somebody that clearly was in a different state and didn't know everything, or at the time gave me all the yeses, and in reality things could have been looked at differently. Man, I'm just happy to be in the home. I'm happy to have a home here in Florida, and it wouldn't have been possible without you guys.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for trusting us. And I hope you have many, many years of enjoyment on that property. And I'm so excited for you because I know that's not going to be your forever home down here. Eventually, you're going to turn that into a full-time investment property while you build your empire. And and the other thing I wanted to say is thank you so much for your service about being into the healthcare. I almost feel like in today's world, healthcare providers are frontline workers. On the front line, like police officers, firefighters, our service members. I feel like the healthcare is right there with it. So thank you for your service.
Leonard is too. I mean, Leonard's the front line and getting people stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's in the delivery world, I suppose. And those guys have like all through. They've been working full time, overtime, making the wheels turn in the economy. So shout out to both of them. I mean, I'll tell you, Rashana really, I'm just trying to put myself in her shoes. She's juggling a move. She's juggling all her stuff. They've got the kids, school. She's getting her own things going with work. I mean, and then all this on top of it. It's just really. I'm like super excited that we got it done. But holy cow, what an experience!
And as you're noting too, I'm sorry, Jim, but as you're noting, she kind of the one that took the charge from the family perspective and kept the sanity, which is a great example of why women are my favorite people. Like my top 5 favorite people are all women because they're just better than men. They just are at like everything. And just take it. Congratulations, Rashana, on running a tight ship and keeping your family in line, but getting it all done. I'm sorry, Jimmy D. What were you gonna say?
No, that's okay, Johnny. That's a great way to leave off. That's so true.
Rashana, it's nice to talk to you. I've never spoken with you, but I've heard your name, and obviously in the office, I heard a lot about your situation. If you're ever listening to the show and you hear the saying, "Don't end up at a truck stop," call the One Stop Real Estate Shop. You'll know it's based on reality. It's not made up. This is a fact. We can actually keep you from ending up at a truck stop if you call the One Stop Real Estate Shop. We can at least try. And if you are at that truck stop, within the power of this team, they'll see if they can get you out of that truck stop and into a home that makes you very happy. And we're happy that you're happy, Rashana. And thank you for, I don't know if you planned on being with us this long today, but thank you for your time and obvious willingness to share what is a really, really tough situation. I don't know if this conversation, because a little lightheartedness, I don't know if it quite emphasized what you went through and the time of what you went through.
Oh, we lost Johnny there for
Thanks for not giving it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rashana. It was absolutely a pleasure work with you. And again, you were the grease that got the squeaky wheels moving, and you kept everybody moving, and you were as big a part of solving the problem as any of us, and we was grateful to work with you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, Rashana. Nice speaking with you.
Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day weekend. That's right. I got so wrapped up in college football, I forgot it's a great weekend to go buy a mattress.
I know. I think I need to buy some furniture for
Rashana.
Too. And I really don't want to go shopping this weekend, but now I think I might have to.
Have a great weekend, Rashana. Thank you for being with us. 877-927-6969. You can be a part of the show as well. That's toll free, 877-927-6969. Whether you're on Facebook, by the way, if you're on Facebook, you're already connected. Like you can chime in, say hi, ask a question, distract the hell out of Jimmy D while you're there on Facebook. Check out the whole crew. But you're already connected. You're already connected to the team, the One Stop Real Estate Shop. You can always go to floridatalkrealestate.com. Remember it, write it down, spray paint it on your walls, do whatever you got to do. Share it though, because you never know who you could be hooking up. Somebody like Rashana, who might have $20,000 in escrow in limbo, because they can't close on a deal. And you could be saving not only the $20K, but the future of their home by saying, hey, call these guys, floridatalkrealestate.com at 888-973-7828, floridatalkrealestate.com. Go ahead, Jimmy D.
Hey, the other thing is about the One Stop Real Estate Shop is that, God forbid, if Rashana and her husband weren't able to get the deposit back, we would have pulled out the next tool in our toolbox. We had we always say that we have a safety net under safety net under safety net if we can. So our safety net would have been pick up the phone and call the hotline, the BAT hotline to the law office of Paul A. Krasker and say, hey, we got a big problem here. And it's just one phone call away. And then we would have had Rashana going over to Paul and figuring out if there was anything that he could have done to save the $20,000. Thank God that Scott was able and Mike were able to get the sellers not to go through that process and just continue on with the closing. Scott?
And those wheels were already turning. When I gave Mike the 24 hours to let me know whether he can do it or not, so I could ask for the extension with the sellers again, while he was working on it for those 24 hours, I was already in the next safety net mode. I was already preparing for fighting for that escrow deposit, getting a hold of the Krasker. I got a hold of the original loan originator and had a pretty heated conversation with him about, I need you to send me a loan denial letter because I need any ammunition you can give me because I'm getting ready to have to probably fight for their 20 grand. So we were already in that mode while Mike was figuring it out. Unfortunately, Mike called me back the next day and said he could do it, so I didn't have to continue that process.
Yeah.
And then as far as the one-stop real estate shop, also just this week alone, we had, or last week, we had a call from New Jersey. They need to get student loan modification, a parent student loan modification. Called us from New Jersey because they listen up there in New Jersey. We had a couple that watched us on Facebook for a whole year during COVID. They ended up buying down in Wilton Manors, never met us before, just saw us on the show. We had another person call us up this week, and they're having a problem. They're a landlord, and it's the first call I've gotten on this related to the current market, but the landlord is ready to evict the tenant in their home, and they need some legal advice and legal help. So we're there for all those purposes, and we are the one-stop real estate shop. Johnny, why won't we take I know we didn't take the 9:30. Let's take the 10 o'clock break, and on the other side, we have a lot to talk about, including Radon Gas. What the heck is that? And what could be happening down in Boca Raton with it?
We're going to find out next. 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes from now. It's a quick break. We do a reset. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. It's your one-stop real estate shop, floridatalkrealestate.com. 4 minutes from now, we find out what the heck's going on with the radon. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be.
I've been everywhere, man.
Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio.
This is former Notre Dame quarterback Brady Quinn. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by DuckDuckGo.
The U will be heading into neutral ground at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta today as the Hurricanes take on the Alabama Crimson Tide in an ACC-SEC showdown. After managing to beat up the pitching of the Phillies and put a stop to their recent winning streak, the Marlins will look to make one of their own as they face Philly again tonight. And Inter Miami heads into their next contest against FC Cincinnati. I'm Adam Crowley.
What is it that makes you uniquely you? Well, DuckDuckGo doesn't think that's any of their business. And frankly, it shouldn't be the business of any tech company. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
This report is streamed live on our iHeartRadio app. Download it now.
Hey there, I'm CBS 12 Storm Track meteorologist Zach Tovey. Another hot one today. Highs around 90 degrees with those partly sunny skies. Scattered showers and storms are possible throughout the afternoon hours, but severe weather is not anticipated.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast. What's the deal? $1.99 breakfast croissants. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a sausage or bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant for just $1.99. Fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, grilled sausage, all on a hot, buttery, flaky croissant. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does,
and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is WZZR FM, West Palm Beach, Real Radio 92.1, powered by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Been in an accident? Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's it. Toll free, 877-927-6969. It's 2 hours of infotainment. If you're paying attention to the clock on this Saturday, that's one down, one left for you. You still got plenty of time. If you got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, well, don't be shy. You can hope for an answer. You can maybe lean on somebody you think's good at what they do. We've heard too many stories to go down that path. Trust your boy. Go to people that know exactly what's going on, and they know what they don't know. I'm not going to just give you some random answer hoping for the best. They'll be like, oh, well, I'm not sure, but I will get you an answer because that's a powerful place, knowing what you don't know. I know this team's amazing, and I'm your boy, Johnny C. Proud every Saturday morning to say good morning. Oh, Scott Spainhour's with us, one of the top realtors that makes it easy to say that Jimmy D runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Scott Spainhour is with us on a Saturday. Nice to see you, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Johnny C. Happy South Florida to you.
Thank you for squeezing it in on a Saturday. Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great, my brother.
Good.
Doing great this morning. It's a beautiful morning, 3-day weekend.
Yes.
Just got back from a long weekend, so I'm feeling good.
Nice,
Good.
nice.
Hey, can you do the new slogan in like a super radio guy voice? The truck stop slogan?
Oh, in a super radio. So you got to really puke it out?
Yeah.
Don't end up at his truck stop. Call the one-stop real estate shop.
That's puking.
That's pretty good puke. Yeah, I'm not the best at it, but I'll work on it. I'll tell you, the next couple of days, next Saturday, I'm gonna really shine with it, Mike. I'm gonna really shine with it.
You're gonna work on it.
I am. I'm gonna absolutely. I'm gonna win you over next Saturday. I promise. Jim DePaul is with us. We got Jimmy D with Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. I tell you all the time, he runs the top producing Keller Williams team. It's true, he does. Jimmy D, how are you?
Hey, man, I remember when we first started the show way back in January 7th, 2012, that before we went on air, Johnny's like, don't puke. And I'm like, I thought he was talking about like being nervous about going on the air. And I'm like, I'm not going to puke. What are you talking about? But he was talking about puking like a radio guy. Hey, this is Jim DePolo from WZZR, blah, blah, blah. He's like, don't do that. Just talk like a regular person.
That's right. Yeah, you shouldn't change just because you have a mic. We should be talking this way, whether we're sitting next to each other on the couch, sitting next to each other at the bar, or sitting here on the radio. It's just, you shouldn't change. You shouldn't.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest compliments I get when I go out to meet with people, they go, you talk just like you talk on the radio. And I'm like, well, because it's real. You know, it's real. That's right. I want to go into some news. We're going to go into some news nuggets, and then we're going to do a segment about what's your magic number, because we got 2 success stories about magic numbers today.
Nice.
So we've been talking about that for a while, but let's go into the news first. Found something really fascinating in the Sun Sentinel this week, a couple days ago. I saved it. And Radon Gas, okay? Do anybody know about radon other than Scott? Okay. What does anybody know about radon gas? You've ever heard of radon gas?
Go ahead, Mike.
I've heard of it.
Okay. What do you know about it?
I know that in areas of the country where a basement is common, there's usually some sort of radon gas testing or addendum or disclosure required. That's about and I guess in general, Florida really doesn't have a lot of basements, so I never hear much about it here.
Right. That's so this is what I used to typically say, but I'm not saying this anymore ever again. So what I've always been told is that radon gas is very prevalent up in the Northeast. So Mike, that'd be very common, like where you used to live when you were in Virginia, that people had basements and stuff. So radon gas was a very natural thing that you would test for. How about you, Scott, in Tennessee? Were people doing radon gas tests out there?
I never lived in a home with a basement when I was in Tennessee,
okay.
I was not familiar with it.
So what I've always told
Actually, think up there in Tennessee, they prefer the radon.
They like it better, yeah. Right.
When I was growing up, when we had a radon gas, it was a bunch of us going out siphoning tanks.
So what I've always been taught down here when I first started as an agent, that radon gas is not very common at all down here in South Florida, but I've heard of like pockets of Miami might have it, okay? But that's pretty much it. I heard about radon gas down here in South Florida, but I heard it's a little more prevalent in Central and North Florida, okay? That's all I knew about it. I knew radon gas, by the way, is a naturally occurring gas that seeps up from the ground, like Mike says. It just naturally happens. And that if it's just released into the air, it's okay because it's very diluted. But when you have it like in a basement and it's coming up from the ground and it gets trapped in a room and levels get high, it can be very dangerous. It could create lung problems, long-term problems for you. Very serious health issues can happen. But it has to happen over a very long period of time, supposedly, and at very high quantities. Well, Boca Raton has an apartment complex over on Glades and 441 where there's a pretty serious, apparently, according to the news story, radon gas problem. The average indoor radon gas test in the U.S. is 1.4. Oh, Mike's gonna have a love this. It'll be like Flotsam Jetsam last time we talked. 1.3 picouries is the measurement. I know you've heard of that, Mike, but picouries, right? So it's 1.3 picouries is what per liter is okay. Anything above that is not good. And there's readings of 10 to 14 picoliters, not 1.3. So many, many times the amount that's acceptable, if you will, in this building. And there's a lot of people really, really upset there. There's one guy who's actually paying, he's keeping the rental property, but now he's living in like an Airbnb and it's cost him something like $6,000 already while they're trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do with this. Now, there is an inspector that we actually know and used to use way back in the day that went out and checked this apartment complex out. And what they think is that it really isn't coming from the ground, which would make sense because we don't hear about radon. Now, here's the interesting part. They think it's coming from the concrete that they used to build the building, and that the concrete was where the radon gas has been trapped. So
I was going to say the concrete is off-gassing.
I'm sorry?
The concrete is off-gassing. It's
it's
releasing.
off-gassing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Chinese drywall, right? Remember way back in the day, we're digging deep here. Remember in 2008 through 2015, there was a big Chinese drywall problem down here because we were building so fast during that great boom that we had, the real estate boom, the last real estate boom, that there wasn't enough drywall. So most of the time, drywall was manufactured and delivered from Canada. But because there was too much drywall demand, we were getting the drywall manufactured in China, which was being sent to Canada and then sent to the United States. And the Chinese drywall had toxic chemicals in it or something from polluted ground where they got the drywall materials, the gypsum that's used for drywall. And it really created a lot of problems here. And they had to rip out all the drywall and rebuild the houses with new drywall, and sometimes even more complicated than that. So just be aware of the radon gas. So if you're ever worried about, if you're ever worried that you're ultra sensitive to health issues, go ahead and test for radon gas. It doesn't cost that much. I think it's $100. And if you want to test it, don't stop yourself. But I just thought that was really interesting.
They also sell, Jim, unless I'm wrong, I think they sell like smoke detectors that also have a radon detector component in them. So I think that's pretty common up in the
Actually, you're right, Mike, and that's a great tip. I would definitely recommend doing that if you had any concerns whatsoever. And it's the bad part about radon is that you can't smell it. It doesn't like stain anything. Like with Chinese drywall, there were some ways you could find out maybe that there's Chinese drywall without taking a test, like looking on the back of the board and see if it was written in Chinese.
Where was President Trump back then when we needed him with the China drywall?
I'm sorry, Mike.
Where was President Trump back then when we needed him with the China drywall?
I don't even want to talk. No politics, man.
It comes from China.
Politics. Bite your tongue, Mike. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, so wanted to talk about some other things that I thought it's just about market perspective of where we are on the market. Okay, interest rates 2.87. That's what we were last week. I think we were at 2.88 last week, so we're hovering around, right under 3% for the Freddie Mac report. No changes there right now. Other thing, employment rate this month sucked. Blue chunks, very bad, under 250,000 new jobs. They were expecting 750,000 new jobs, only 250,000. Okay, now there's a little tiny light at the end of that tunnel. That's not a train, because last month they thought that we had about 930,000 new jobs. They adjusted that to about 1 million, and they also adjusted June up. So we had a net gain of about 300,000 from July and August, that when they recalculated, they had better employment figures for that. So, but August, blue chunks, right? 235,000. So now so what does that mean in the economy? Jerome Powell, our Fed Reserve Chairman, has been talking in the last 2 meetings, trying to, what I feel, psychologically prepare the stock market and the bankers and the mortgage companies, the mortgage service industry, that they were going to start backing off on quantitative easing, which is an interest rate between bank-to-bank lenders, basically, and also tapering. Mike,
we've been in it for 13 years.
I'm sorry?
And we've been in it for 13 years.
You've been doing it for 13 years.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, is tapering the same as quantitative easing? Because I wasn't clear on that. Do you know? Maybe you don't know, but I
don't know.
Okay, so they talked about tapering and quantitative easing. So the bottom line is Jerome Powell was saying that he thinks, and there were a lot of other people on the Fed Reserve that were thinking that it's time to start raising the interest rates between bank to banks and start not paying as much for the servicer stuff. But he was saying at the time, this is over the last 2 meetings, but don't worry about it. It's not going to affect the regular interest rates in the market.
Yeah, they won't do it until they feel like the economy is ready for it, and they've been stalling it for a long time because their economy's really not been ready for it.
Well, but the thing is, the last 2 meetings, which is the last 6 weeks or something, they've been saying, Johnny, that it's time.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm with you. I've been following.
But now we have this week jobs report. So
we'll see when they do it.
They might take that away again. But the point I'm trying to make is they're saying that if they stop the quantitative easing, that it's really not going to affect our interest rates. It's just going to be between the bank and bank. The money that banks lend each other, there's a set interest rate with the Fed Reserve. It's very wonky. I don't want to get into it. I don't think I even understand it that well. But
those Fed rate adjustments affect short-term lending, so more like your car loans, maybe if you're on an adjustable rate mortgage with a home equity line, or just in general. And the long-term mortgage-backed securities rates, even though you get a lot of talk, right, and so some of their psychological impact, sometimes you'll see the opposite. Like the Fed raises their rate, our rates go down. Like, that can happen. I don't expect that. And certainly long term, I think it causes a little bit of an increase.
Well, we've already had proof. I totally don't agree with Powell, and I agree with you that it could go down, Mike. But the last time that we've only had one time where they started increasing it, and that was 2018.
Yeah.
In 13
On this
years,
show,
only in 2018, and they only did it for like 3 months. And then we saw
they hiked it a couple times.
I'm sorry?
They hiked it a couple times, if I remember correctly. So there were
Right,
two
during
reports where
and mortgage interest rates went down.
No,
that's when we almost hit 5% at the end of 2018.
No, they hit 5. Let me finish, guys. Let me just set the foundation that we can talk. Okay, so here's the thing. They started backing off on the quantitative easing. They started raising it. First, it was like a quarter point. Then they did another quarter point, and I think they almost did a half point, or maybe did a half point. And then all of a sudden, we had the fastest mortgage rate increase in the history of the United States. In like 6 weeks, we went from roughly 3.5 to almost 5.5. And it put us into a shock. It was complete shock to the real estate market, at least here in Florida, because in 2019, it took us about 8 months to get from the 5.5 back down to that 3.5 again. It took us about 8 months to get there. And during that time, the sales were like crickets chirping. And remember when we went over the stats last week, guys, where we went over all those stats for the years for where we are in the market? 2019 was the weak year. Every single county, 2019 was the weak year, because we were waiting for the interest rates to go, the buyers were, from 5.5 down to the threes again, because that's what their expectations are, even though I feel that's very unrealistic. So,
which they did, though.
I'm sorry, and it did go down, right? And it went down even lower. I thought we would never see below 3, right? Yeah. And then we did, then we broke it. So just keep an eye on that. I have a lot of people that aren't ready to sell right now. And right now the market has been pretty flat, meaning pretty stable as far as worrying about price drops. But once we see those interest rates start scooting up, if the Fed starts doing the easing off on the quantitative easing, keep a very close eye on the interest rates. That's my tip to everybody.
Yeah, that's a wonderful tip. Write that down.
Yeah, and I do think you might get a slight dip because of market instability, but then over the long term, Johnny, those Fed rate hikes cause mortgage-backed securities rates to go up, over the 6-month or 12-month time frames.
Yeah, and they shouldn't. Theoretically, they shouldn't, because they're not necessarily connected. But
they're not connected. Yeah.
No. But I guess that's always there's always a cause and effect in everything, whether it's mental or actual and physical. But having people that are knowing and going through the changes constantly, man, if you don't, you talk about interest rates, if you don't realize the evolution of the real estate market over just the last couple of years, but man, over a 10-year span, you got to ride the waves, you got to learn along the way, and you got a team that does that every single day in the trenches, learning something new, gaining some new tool for the tool bet, some new advantage for the next client or the current client that we're dealing with. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. You find them all. Team of pros at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Go ahead there, Jim.
Hey, just another news nugget. There was a report that just came out about the top 43 metropolitan markets that are most unaffordable for housing. And
the top 43 of them, huh?
I know there's 100. They did 100 metropolitan markets. They only put 43 down. I don't know why they only ranked 43, right? But so where does Miami, Fort Lauderdale? So our metropolitan market's always Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm. That's the way they do it. That's when they do national. That's what our market is. They always do the 3 counties together. That's called South Florida. So where does South Florida rank as most unaffordable market out of the 100 metropolitan markets? Where does South Florida rank in most unaffordable? What
so high is this a cost of living or just housing prices?
Housing prices based on cost of living. Well, housing prices based on income.
Do I have to pick a number or a zone?
I'm sorry. Pick a number. No, pick a number. Pick a number.
All right, we're number 6
collectively, huh?
Mm-hmm. All three. It's all 3 because like let's say San Francisco has its own market, but there's multiple counties there. Los Angeles has multiple counties, but they call it Los Angeles. It's just like down here.
2.
Number 2. What do you say, Scott?
Mike said 6, so I'm gonna have to go with 5.
Okay. So
I wanted to say 4. I wanted to say 4, but my brain spit out 6.
The answer is, drum roll, please. We are number 2.
Johnny.
Right on the head.
Damn.
1 in 100 chance, and he got it right. Pretty darn good. So we're number 2. Congratulations to South Florida. We are the second most unaffordable market in the country.
Is San Francisco number 1?
No,
way.
Los Angeles.
They make great money out there. They make great money.
Florida and California and Texas have multiple metropolitan markets that are the most unaffordable. Okay.
Where's New York City? Is that
It was in there, but I was surprised. I just
they make pretty good medium income there too.
They just logged me out of the.
They kicked you out.
They kicked me out of the article, but New York is in there, but it isn't as. I was surprised it wasn't as high as I thought it was. That I thought was kind of interesting. I'm trying to look at the other thing. So let me see where we're at.
I think Johnny was onto something there, though. It's relevant to the pay in that area and income in that area.
For sure. Absolutely.
Without a doubt, it's based on the income. The average income down here, they had it. I'm doing this off of memory. Was like, however they put this together, it was the average person down here was making $61,000, and the mortgage payment was well over 30% of their income. And in Los Angeles, the average income was about 90-something thousand, so about a third more, or 50% more than here. So there is a big difference in that.
Oh yeah, it's all relative. It really is. But what made me confident in going so high is just the numbers that you've been sharing with us recently, Jim. You said last year Palm Beach County median was 380,000, 360.
Right at 400, and then within a year,
now it's 500,000.
$500,000 is the median sales price in Palm Beach County.
That's median in Palm Beach County. And you said Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach County. I was like, oh, we got to be way up there because our median sales have been going through the roof. And part of the economy problem is everybody talks about the economy. Increase in pay has it never happens, right? Everything goes up, but people don't make more money. You might have means to make more money, and you might make it cool, right? Oh, what's your side hustle? We call that having another job, but you call it a side hustle, you feel better about it, right? Yeah, if you have 2-3 jobs, maybe you can make your salary where you need it to be, but pay hasn't really gone up, but everything else has. So it was easy for me to kind of think way towards the top right there, a $500,000 median sales price for Palm Beach County. That's pretty steep.
You put a lot more thought into it than I did, Johnny. I don't know what I was thinking. My brain was telling me 4. I was thinking, California counties, maybe something Texas, and then New York, and then.
Well, here's a real life example. I was talking to one of our really big fans of the show, a guy named Fred. He lives in Lake Worth. I met with him about a year ago. And his house was worth $420. If we were to put it on the market at that point, I had the old notes and everything. We were going to put it on the market between $420 and $440, somewhere around there. If you were to put the house on the market today, it's going to be worth, and I'm giving a big spread because the roof's a little older, and I take that in consideration. But on a bad day, he's looking at $520, $100,000 more, and on a good day, he might get 575, and on an excellent day, like if all the planets align perfectly, he could hit 6. So he went from 440 for the top number to 600 in about 14 months.
I think if I were him, I would try to sell it on the excellent day. Can we pick that? Can we pick that as an option?
Thursdays. That's why I put the house on the market Thursday. If you want to know why I put it on Thursday, give us a call. We'll tell you off air.
That's the secret.
So you're right. So it's a crazy time right now about affordability. I just want. Okay.
Hey, Jim, just following up on that. What are the chances that he sells the home for that number on an excellent day without a real estate agent? 0?
It's hard to say, Mike, because I'm always honest on the show, and it's an easy lob. I know you gave me a softball, say, "I'll be the agent," but there are times, unfortunately, I have to say this, in this market, there are times where if you don't have the agent, but you have a built-in buyer that's like cash and you know them and there's no issues, you could close at that top dollar if they saw the value in it. But there's a lot of risk to that, and there's a lot of unknowns. But could you do it? Yeah. Is it likely? No, maybe like 2% who go after it and do that. They can. But do you want to risk being part of the 2%, or do you want to go in there and get it done on the MLS?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you take an off-market deal, how do you know that if you put it on the open market and you have multiple offers that you couldn't have done better? You don't know that unless you do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You're marketing it to one person versus marketing it to the open market. The more eyes you have on it, potentially you get more.
Sure.
Absolutely. Now, what I'd like to do, let's go ahead and take a break because it's 10:30. What we're going to do next is we're going to talk about this. I can't wait to talk about this. Johnny and I have been talking on when we're making our phone calls to talk to all our customers. We're asking a question. What's your magic number? Right? Well, we have 2 great success stories we're going to talk about of 2 people that got their magic number with us just recently.
Oh, what's a magic number? What's your magic number? And we'll get some success. We get through all that, and we'll cram in whatever else we can. We got about 30 minutes left for you on a Saturday, 2 hours of infotainment. It clips right on by. You can be a part of it. Toll free, 877-927-6969. We'll get to your calls in about 4 minutes from now. If you're not comfortable on air, I understand. I am barely comfortable myself. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Your access to the entire team. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Your one-stop real estate shop. Don't end up at a truck stop. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
We'll be your friend. Follow us at Real Radio 92.1 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
This report is streamed live on our iHeartRadio app. Download it now.
Hey there, I'm CBS 12 Storm Track meteorologist Zach Covey. Another hot one today. Highs around 90 degrees with those partly sunny skies. Scattered showers and storms are possible throughout the afternoon hours, but severe weather is not anticipated.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Connect has amazing prices for your back-to-school list. Now Crayola 12-count color pencils and 10+2 markers bonus packs are just 97 cents each. Offer ends 9/18, limit 30. Be more than ready for school. Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
You're listening to Real Radio 92.1, and we are an iHeart radio station. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Oh, man, Saturday just wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks so much for being with us on a Saturday for 2 hours of infotainment. And if you're like, I'm not with you for the whole 2 hours, well, at least let me think that you are. We go 9 until 11 every Saturday. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. Nice to see you. 92.1, 101.7, wherever you might be on your iHeartRadio app. That's a free download. Phenomenal of you to choose to be with us. Thank you very much. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. It's your one-stop real estate shop. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. It's your access to the entire team. Pros. They're experts in their field. You can reach them all. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. I'm Johnny C. Scott Spainhour is with us on this Saturday and getting ready for a weekend to begin. At least I assume. I don't know what you got going on this afternoon, Scott, but Scott's one of the big reasons that we can say that Jim DePola runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Why? Because, well, Scott's one of our top realtors on the team. Hello, Scott Spainhour. How are you, my friend?
I am excellent, Johnny C. I would like to have a long weekend as well, but I do still have to work on some negotiations for a closing that's happening next week after the show. So not a full free weekend.
All right, but maybe at least a couple days off?
I'm going to try and take tomorrow off.
Fantastical. I know I'm planning on probably spending a bunch of money on a bed this weekend because it is the weekend to buy a bed, from what I understand. Mike Rauch, what are your weekend plans? The mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I didn't really have many plans, just kind of maybe get some stuff done around the house. But now that you mention it, I could probably, I've been thinking about buying two mattresses. So I might have to get out there and do it. What makes it? Is it just the sales are great this weekend? I'm not in touch with the mattress world.
Labor Day is kind of traditionally known as like the mattress weekend, buy-in weekend, and yeah, everybody is having a sale, literally, no doubt. Jim DePola is muted. He's trying to say something, but you are muted, my friend. We cannot hear the melodious tones of Jimmy D. What's that?
Sorry, I was saying that we have an expert here to tell us exactly what's going on with furniture.
I was in the business. I was in the business for 14 years before I started this real estate gig.
Before you reveal the secret, Scott, here in my mind, here's what happens. They jack up all the prices leading up to the big sale day, and then they sale from the top price that they've been selling for a long time.
There's definitely some truth to that.
Yeah, Mike. Scott was in that field for many, many years, and he was a manager, and he oversaw a lot of people while he was doing that. So every time I think of furniture, I think of Scott. So
wait a second. Is it a good weekend to buy a mattress or what?
Yes, it is. Some of the best sales of the year for mattresses happen on like Memorial Day and Labor Day. But call me after the show, Johnny. I got a tip for you.
Cool.
That's awesome. Hey, one of my stories, I got nicknamed the Haggle Monster when I was a newspaper reporter for the Sun Sentinel, because everybody knew that I loved negotiating cars for them. So when they needed to buy a car, they came to me and I would negotiate for them to get the cars. And then I wanted to buy one year, many years ago, I wanted to buy a really expensive mattress, right? I wanted like a top of the line, like, 5-star hotel-y mattress and everything. But I was on a very tight budget because I was, a newspaper reporter, at a local newspaper. You don't make a lot of money doing that. So what I found out is that a lot of the mattresses that are being sold, what happened was I went into a furniture store and I asked for a certain type of mattress after we were checking it out. And he opens up a booklet and he went down to find out what that mattress cost. And it had a price, and then it had like 5 other names underneath it. And it had lower and lower prices as you went down the list, but it was the same bed.
Yep.
So I talked to the salesperson. I go, "What's up with that?" No, he says, "Well, this is what the price is going to be." So he gave me like a middle price, right? And I go, and I pointed to the lower price, which was hundreds of dollars less. And I said, "Well, what about that?" And he goes, "You can't buy the bed for that price." I go, "Is that the price for this bed?" And he goes, "No, this is the price." And he's showing me the middle one. Now there's like 5 prices there, and I'm not supposed to be seeing this book. But when he opened it up in front of me, he was caught, and it was there. So what I found out is a lot of these furniture stores, they have the same exact mattress with the same insides and everything. And all they do is they put the last piece of cloth that goes over the top, and they put their label on it. So it's the same bed. So if you go to Macy's and it has the Macy's label, and you go to another discount store that might have the same bed, it's not going to have the Macy's label, have their own private label, but it's the same exact mattress, and you can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I wrote I wrote a feature story about buying mattresses in the Sun Sentinel and the Lifestyle, and it was on the front page of the Lifestyle section, and it was one of the biggest, most viewed articles I wrote that year about selling mattresses. So anyway, I just remembered that when you guys were talking about
we picked up a mattress one time, and it had like the plastic covering had all kinds of yuck and smudge, and it was like kind of beat up and like. And the wife's like, "No way, we're paying for this." She's like, "No way, no way." And we saved big money on this mattress. And when you pull that plastic off, you're like, "Oh, look at that! Oh, it's all gone, babe. All that yuck is all gone. It was all in the plastic." And she was in her head. She's like, "No way!" And it's like, "Well, just watch this." It's not even dented. It's just gone now. There you go. Nice.
So I'm just going to do a couple really quick shout outs. I don't want to go into too much, Scott, because I know some of them are related to you and Mike, because I want to get into the 2 specific people I want to do our segment called "What's Your Magic Number?" Okay.
Magic number.
But before we get there, I just want to give a shout out to an investment group called Elili. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's investment group. Elili LLC. They went under contract to buy one of our properties in West Palm. Actually, I think it isn't the same property. I thought it was the property where Shauna met Scott at. But congratulations, Scott, for getting Elili LLC under contract for their new investment property. Thank you, John, for hiring our team to go ahead and sell your home in Palm Springs. We have a fixer-upper. A 2-bedroom, 1-bath in the city of Palm Springs coming on the market very soon. So thank you, John. We were just waiting for him to clear out the house so we could put that on the market.
What's that number? What's the first number in that list price going to be?
It's going to be the 4th. It's going to be right now, as I checked 2 days ago when I took the listing, it's going to be the 4th least expensive single family home in Palm Beach County for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Okay, in the best neighborhood. So it's going to be the 4th cheapest home, but the best neighborhood of those houses. Okay?
You taking all types of offers?
Yes, we might do it too. We won't do VA because, and I love VA. Don't get mad at me, vets, because I love vets. And in fact, the seller would love to sell to a vet because the person that owned the house before this was a vet. But the house is it doesn't have air conditioning. There is The flooring is all ripped up. The cabinets are from 1957. The house, cloth wiring everywhere. Not, it's a total gut job. So
Gotcha.
we might do a 2031 construction loan if somebody wanted to do it. We would do that, and maybe a conventional construction loan, maybe. But it's really, we think it's going to be a cash only deal. Let me go into a couple other things. Just wanted to say congratulations to Debbie and her beau. The house that they were trying to get did appraise. Now we're just waiting to get to the final details of closing. Mike, Scott, you worked that case, so congratulations on getting Debbie in a contract. How many offers did you have to turn in for poor Debbie before she got this house?
Quite a few. Debbie met two.
10.
Yeah, like 10 offers, and that's no exaggeration. Debbie was using a first-time FHA type loan, and it's a challenge to get FHA offers accepted when a seller's got cash offers and conventional offers to compare it to. But fortunately, Debbie had the fortitude to stick with it and stick with us, and we got her into a home that she's really excited about moving into.
And not just excited, she is the one-stop real estate shop user because Mike is the one that's getting Debbie the loan. Correct, Mike?
Yeah, and Ross.
Ross doing the insurance and Trident Title.
I would say we're closing on Tuesday, Jim. I would say don't jinx us, but it's all sewed up. It's all sewed up, so it's happening Tuesday. And yeah, what a it's been a journey with them, but they've been troopers through it, and just. It's one of those stories. It's going to be like you fight so hard, and guess what? You end up with the house that's really, really right for you and really perfect for them.
Yep, in this house, they're not sacrificing. Hit all the checkpoints. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home, no HOA, pool, everything they wanted. Can't wait till they move in. Congratulations.
And the timing worked out for them too, because we couldn't have gone much longer because the rental that she was in, the landlord is trying to get them out so that they can sell that property. So she was about to have to figure out something one way or another. So the timing worked out perfect.
Just want to do one real quick, and we're going to go to magic number. Okay. Also once again, we have another seller buyer. Success story. Seller buyer means they need to sell their house, take the money, buy the new home on the same day that they sell the home that they're selling. They got to buy the new home the same day or they become homeless. Congratulations to Lee. He's our most recent seller buyer. When he came to us, he was trying to sell the townhome I talked about a little early in the show that we sold in 7 days when everybody else is 80 to 140 days. But he had it in his mind that he was not going to buy after he sold. He was going to go move in with some friends or relatives and then go find the house because he thought it was going to be so hard. I kept telling him, don't do that. Don't do that. We can make it happen. Let's do the seller buyer. Why take the time and the expense of aggravation of moving twice and the expense of moving twice? Don't do it. So he trusted me. He had been scrounging pretty hard on Realtor.com, Zillow.com, Trulia.com, trying to get properties. I sat down with him, showed him the properties I found on the MLS. He knew nothing about these properties. I got him a really nice home. We found out that it appraised this week for 3% less than we contracted. 3% more than what we contracted for. So he bought the house under value, and not only did he buy it undervalued based on appraisal, we got it for almost 6% below the list price in today's market. So Don't tell me the biggest complaint I have is from buyers right now or sellers right now. I'd love to sell my house at this peak, but what the heck am I going to buy? Don't listen to that. That's myth. If you have top agents, they can help you. So let me get into
Hey, Jim, a little detail though. That listing.
Nope, Mike. Nope.
No, they were only accepting cash offers.
Minutes. No, we got 12 minutes. We're going to go to magic number. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to say something, Mike, but we got to hold on that. Okay, we got to get into magic number.
I could have had it said already.
Okay, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I said they were only accepting cash offers. That listing.
But yeah, they said they were only taking. Thank you, Mike, because Mike is the mortgage broker. I forgot about that. I'm trying to rush through. Yeah, they were only taking cash offers. We got it. We convinced them through a lot of hard work with Ross and a lot of people are inspectors. We were able to get a financed offer. We're going to talk about that when we close because I don't want to go too far. We're not closed yet, but they're ready to. Everything's looking good. Okay, now magic number. Johnny and I have been talking to people for a long time now, a couple months, saying because this market's so hot, saying what would be the number that you would need to see on a check in order for you to decide to move from your home, right? So Johnny's been asking, and we found two people who said, well, if you can get me this number for my house, I'm ready to sell right now. Right, Johnny?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's what's happened.
I actually found a bunch, but some of those numbers are just ridiculous. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. What's the magic number to get you to pack up and leave your house right now? And for some people, it's my magic number is $1 million because I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And that's okay.
It's okay. Some people are a little more realistic. They're like, man, if you can give me 240, I'm out. Or you can give me 330, I'm leaving tomorrow. You give me 380, I'm leaving tomorrow. It varies, right?
Absolutely. So I met with Marshall about 2 months ago. He's selling his home in Port St. Lucie because he was trying to get a job up in North Carolina, but he wasn't sure how he was going to handle this. And he said to me, I really need to get as much money as I can from this deal. Of course, everybody says that. And he told me his secret number. Well, it took about 1.5 to 2 months before we actually put the house on the market. The market got hotter and hotter. So when I met him the first day, we put a number down on a piece of paper and showed him what he would net after all the costs. It's called a seller net sheet of what after paying all the costs, the real estate commissions, the documentary stamp tax, the proration on the taxes, all the stuff that you have to pay when you close on a house as a seller, the title costs if it's appropriate in your county, all of that stuff, and told him what he would net in his pocket. So he told me when we sat down, he had a number in his head, and I told him, no. And my number was 15% higher than his number. So I remember leaving that day where he said, I'm hired and he's going to sell the house with me. He goes, if you can get me that number, Jim, I'm gone. Right. Well, then it took about a month for us to put the house on the market. So I decided to push the limits. He got 25% higher than the number that I wanted to give him, not the number he wanted. If you counted the number he wanted, we were like 40% higher than what he thought he was going to get for that house.
What he would have been happy with. Yeah.
Yes, what he would have been totally satisfied with.
Yeah.
Can you imagine making 40% more in your pocket than what you would have been satisfied with? I hope I get this number, but then I got this number, right? That's what was happening with that. Can you imagine?
That's amazing.
So congratulations, Marshall. Then we helped him as a seller buyer. We found a great agent up in Rutherford, North Carolina. He's under contract up there. We're hoping that that's going to close. He's closing on, Mike is the mortgage broker for one of the buyers on Marshall's house. We're closing that, I think, on Tuesday after Labor Day. And if everything goes well, Marshall's going to be in his new home with his awesome Rottweiler, Guinness, in his new home in Rutherford, North Carolina on the 10th. He sells his house on the 7th, buys the new home on the 10th. It takes him 3 days to get up there. Not homeless. Everything works out great. Congratulations, Marshall. Nice. And then we have Adam.
What a great name for the dog. That's awesome.
Guinness, I know.
Roddy. Yeah.
I know. It is awesome. And he's a great dog, too. Adam, he lives in Jensen Beach. He didn't need to sell his house. He was making a ton of money as a rental. He was using it as a rental property. Didn't have to sell it. Wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He's very sharp financial mind. He was thinking, Jim, why am I going to sell my house? I know I could sell my house at the peak, but I'm making so much as a rental owner. And then we went over all the numbers. And I gave him the options. I said, you can keep it. You're making pretty good as a rental. But in this case, Adam could make $250,000 right now, equity in his pocket on his house. Okay. And I'm like, it would take you 14.7 years of the profit that you're making on the rental in order to make this $250,000, or you could take $250,000 right now. Do you want to make $250,000 if everything goes perfect? And this isn't including any repairs on the house in the future over the 14.7 years. It's not including that if your tenant trashes your place or they don't pay and you're missing out, you have to make that top rent for 14.7 years. Or do you want to just make $250,000 right now? So he
That's
said,
easy.
well, if you can get me that number, Jim, he goes, that's my secret number. Go get me that secret number. Now, in order to hit that secret number, we were going to have to be like the third highest price in the neighborhood, okay, in the last 2 years. We got it. And it appraised on Friday.
Nice.
So congratulations, Adam. He's going to be getting his secret number. Secret numbers matter. When we say, what's your secret number? We're not joking. Now, Johnny's saying it's true. If you come to me and you say that, hey, my secret number is I want $1 million for my house, but your house is worth $500,000. We're probably not getting in the car and sitting down and talk with you, because basically what you're saying is somebody would have to pay me an extremely crazy number for me to pull out of this house because I love it so much. If you love your home, you don't have to sell it, right?
That's right.
But if you really do have a secret number, it's like, well, if I can get this number right now, I'd really like to sell. You need to sit down and talk to us and let's see what we can work out. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can't. The worst that would happen is like, sorry, not right now. That would be the worst. And you would have a lot of information. The other thing is there's a lot of people out there. It's like, yeah, Jim, sure, I'd love to get that secret number, but there's nothing out there for me to buy. Don't believe it. Don't believe the myths. There's 2,000 homes roughly. Well, 1,500 to 2,000. Well, 1,200 to 2,000 homes roughly just in Palm Beach County sold every single month. Not included condos, just single family homes.
Yeah, and our inventory right now would take like a month and a half to sell. If no other homes came on the market, it would be like a month and a half to sell them all up. So there's properties available.
Yeah, but there's always homes available. And if you have a good agent and they're super aggressive, we get you into contract. Look what happened to Scott. Scott met Roshana. She didn't, she couldn't find what she wanted. Scott did some searches. First house that they went to look at together when Scott was the agent, boom, that's the house. Lee, when he was trying to find the new home, he had a very specific idea of what he wanted for that home. He needed a home with land. He needed a detached building on the property for his business because he's a contractor. He really wanted a pool, right? And he wanted a home at a certain square footage or he didn't want to buy it. And he wanted a CBS home, right? No wood. So he got all of that on this house. The house needs a little bit of work, but once he fixes this house up, it's definitely going to be worth $125,000 to $150,000 or $125,000 to $125,000 to $175,000 more than what he's paying for the house. It probably needs about $60,000 in repairs to make it beautiful. Okay. The deals are out there if you have the right agents. That's the house where it was a cash only deal because the agent didn't know what she was doing. And we were able to convince her that our financed offer was better for her than waiting around for a cash offer they weren't going to get. So, so what is your secret number? If you got a secret number in your head, give us a call. We want to talk to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can do it on Facebook. You're right there with Jimmy D right now. It'd be like, Jim, here's my secret number. Here's my address. We'll gather that information and see if there is, like he said, an opportunity for us to maybe make that secret number a reality. It could be so pie in the sky. It's just not a reality. But started it off talking about Marshall. He had a secret number. And it turns out he's going to be closing with a 40% bump in what his secret number actually was. 40% more than 25% more than what Jim said he could give. Because with the circumstances, look, you got to appreciate people where they're presented with new information and their opinion changes. That's Jimmy D's world. Every day, Scott, Mike, every day our market changes. So you might have an opinion today, but tomorrow, the next day, the market's changed. So the opinion changes. You have to go with the flow. You have to evolve with everything. One thing is certain, change. And if you're not good at going with the changes, then you get left behind. You might leave $40,000 in equity behind if you're not working with a top agent. Go to floridatalkrealestate.com if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home. You're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. There are options for you. If you haven't refied, if you've been in your home for a number of years, you should be exploring the options of refinancing. Could save you a lot of money. Could give you an opportunity to tap into some of the equity in your home to catch up on some debt, maybe do some home improvement projects. But Mike might even tell you, hey, you know what? I wouldn't refi. Do a HELOC. But all the scenarios matter. Mike will have these conversations with you. What are you planning on doing? If you're like, I'm going to sell in 2 years, Mike's going to say, well, maybe we don't refi. Why do you want to tap in and take that equity right now when your plan is to sell? Talk to people that know what's going on. Form a plan. Get the knowledge. Use it the right way and benefit from it for you, your family, your friends. Benefit at floridatalkrealestate.com. It's the one-stop real estate shop. Don't end up at a truck stop. Go to the one-stop real estate shop. floridatalkrealestate.com. 888-973-7828. It's the hotline. It's answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's by a live body. You got to love that. And then that information is relayed to us. We'll get in touch with you. You'll be in contact with a pro's pro, someone that's going to make you feel good about your options. And look, sometimes the options aren't great, but at least they're telling you here they are and here's what we can do. And, options are nice, better than being stuck with only one thing that you can do. Find out what can be done. floridatalkrealestate.com. Scott Spainhour.
We definitely have a 30-second commercial there about the truck stop and the one-stop real estate shop. We definitely got a commercial there.
Scott Spainhour, have a great weekend, my friend.
You do the same, Johnny C.
Mike Rauch, please do the same.
You too. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the long weekend if you get one. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And Jimmy D, enjoy your long weekend, my friend.
Oh, it's going to be 14-day weekend for me. I'm finally taking a vacation. I haven't had a vacation since July 2019, so I'm off for 2 weeks, guys.
Enjoy the college football. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Be good to each other. Stay healthy. The locker room is next. We'll see you next Saturday, 9 a.m. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
Because your pet's